Hello, dear folks. Welcome to the show. Jack Chow on the East West Show with the G&E TV. Once again, probably you know the routine already. If we sit in a way like this, we are talking about a debate. Yes, it is debate. It is debate. I'll call it debate, maybe a kind of like a discussion in different ways from different angles. Call it that way, more friendly. We're talking about the coming 2016 election, general election, of course. So far, even though early, we see a lot activities going on. Not on one side, on the other side, we have already 19-something contenders to each other. Let's see if we can get some preview of the election today, one more time. To my left-hand side, my good friend Peter Choi. He's a political commentator. He's a son of a diplomat who traveled all over the world, and he started following his father when he was 5. Now he's only 15, so 10 years of traveling, that will accumulate him enough experiences about how the world looks. On my right-hand side, my good friend Ken Hamming, also a political commentator. He's a writer himself. And he is, I would say, not traveling that much, relatively sedentary, but he thinks a lot. And he does give lots of opinions. Sometimes when he's off the leash, he bites a lot. So to both of you, welcome to the show.
Honored to be here with you, Peter, and your beautiful viewers.
All right, very good.
And thank you, Jack, very much. I think this is going to be a great exchange of ideas.
All right.
I think it's really important that not just that people hear different sides of the equation, but that people who may have differing opinions talk to each other.
All right,
and that's what I'm looking forward to.
All
and
right,
I must say
good.
very quickly, I know Ken, he has a very good heart. So we'll see if his brain matches it.
You got a job to prove.
I'm sitting on my
Yeah, I got a job to prove. All right, very good. All right, my first question, which is very natural, how do you see the overall picture so far, even though premature? Peter?
Well, I think we're talking, of course, about the presidential election.
Of course.
Of course we are.
Yeah,
just to set the matter straight. And look, the choices are very clear. We can continue the success of the past 8 years, or we can go back to the 8 years of George W. Bush and those failed policies, failed military policy, failed economic policy, left our current president with the worst economy since the Great Depression. We can go back to those policies, or we continue what we've enjoyed for the past 8 years, a booming economy, equality for all, and that's what the election is about.
All right. When Peter says it's a moment to consider if we go forward with the success of the past 80 years, or we go back to the failure of the previous George time of the failure. So what's your comment about his overall take of the picture, please?
Well, first of all, I'd like to tell the viewers that Peter was one of the endorsers of a book I have out on my personal value system, of which I live on a daily basis, minute by minute.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And
I
so,
knew that
and
part,
to me, this is not about the election exactly. And whatever Peter views as success of the last 8 years, I find to be sort of contained in Fantasyland at Disneyland. Okay, so I disagree with that assessment. But you know, I've got things I'd like to talk about. We'll have a great conversation. We'll have fun, and then we can have a beer. So,
right,
and I think what this election is about, it's about socialism versus capitalism and the future of this country as either maintaining some greatness for America on planet Earth or losing it and just sinking into socialistic oblivion.
All right.
Does that mean that you're not in favor of socialist programs that you would deem socialist?
Well, see, here's something, because I watched your show twice that you did recently, okay? And you say that like Social Security is socialism. It's actually not. It's a program under the umbrella of capitalism as a society and as an economy.
Well, in America, everything's under the umbrella of capitalism, but are you saying that Social Security is not a socialist program?
Socialism is totally different, not related to Social Security. Socialism
How is
is
Social
an
Security
ideology.
not a socialist program?
It is socialism is an ideology of government control over human citizens, as opposed to capitalism that maintains the freedom and the power to the citizenry. Socialism, the power is with the government. Capitalism, the power is with the people.
But you haven't addressed, it's a yes or no question. Do you think that Social Security is not a socialist program?
It's a program, okay? It's a program. It's not socialism.
It's not a socialist program?
It's not socialism.
No, but is it or is it not a socialist program?
It is not a socialism is different than any program. Socialism is power to the government, not to the people, as opposed to power to the people, that's retained in capitalism.
Do you feel that the current American government does not have certain powers and controls over its people?
Sure it does, but in fact.
So is that by your definition socialism?
No, let me finish. Okay, what it is that I am completely opposed to lifelong politicians. Okay, I think we should have no more than 2 terms for a senator and no more than 3 for a congressman. So because every one of them, Republican, Democrat, whatever, gets sort of blinded with their search for their own power, and I think that's very detrimental to my individual liberties.
Right, but term limits don't really enter into the discussion between capitalism and socialism. That's an apple and orange.
Okay, gentlemen. Okay, you gentlemen. I was exactly about to say my comment about the opening speech, opening statement. Say, okay, I said, oh, this sounds a very nice opening speech from each other, even though in little conflict. However, I say very cordial. I was just exactly about to say that before he raised about the socialist program issue, and looks that that's a start hot enough, right? How about if we rest on that disagreement to each other? And I know what my audience know. At least you guys do not agree on this issue, though. If I recommend that we call it a social program instead of calling it a socialist program,
I'll do that.
How do you do that? How do you agree to that?
Yeah, it's a program.
Social program.
Yeah, it's just a design.
Can we do that?
program
Call it a social program and rest on that.
Well, certainly you only help my argument because by calling these popular government programs a social program instead of a socialist program, it's just removing one syllable. Certainly you cannot call them a capital program as in capitalism.
Yes, all right, you're right.
These programs that are very popular with the American people, Medicare, Medi-Cal, Social Security, these are all fall under the umbrella of what Mr. Hemmings would call a socialist program. Socialism.
All right.
No.
In other words, may I say this? May I say that it is the right or wrong, you have the doubt how to name it, but it is absolutely right that people need the care, right? The people need the care. Am I right on this one?
The less care people need, the more successful the country is, and the more worthy a government is. Any government that tries to have people become dependent upon them is on its way to socialism and tyranny.
So Ken, would you as a Republican like to see the government end Social Security?
I'm not a Republican. I live for the Constitution, Peter. Okay, there's a lot of things about the Republican career politicians I don't approve of.
So then would you, as someone who espouses capitalism over socialism, as you said, would you like to see the U.S. government get rid of Social Security?
No. Would you like to see citizens get rid of weapons?
What does that have to do with socialism?
It looks
Exactly.
I'll tell you what I would like to do. I would like to get rid of loopholes that allow people who are mentally deficient to buy guns. I do think that there should be oversight. Look, this country, we have the freedom to pursue liberty and happiness. If your happiness is driving a car fast or shooting a gun, that's your happiness. But when it comes to driving your car, we have reasonable, agreed upon standards that you drive at a certain speed limit at 65 versus 95.
Sure.
And when it comes to the sale and purchase and use of guns, there should be reasonable regulations.
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Yeah.
I do agree with each of you. I believe my audience see both sides. So far, let's do a rest on this disagreement. And I want to still drag ourselves back to the start, right? The start when he was saying his comment was that, are we continue with the success of the past 80 years, or are we going back to the failure of the Bush years.
Jack, I don't think there's been
And
any
yeah,
success in the last 8
I
years.
know.
So don't-
That's why I want you guys to focus on that comment.
Well, let's
so
start.
Do you
let's
not
talk
agree?
about the point where the 8 years of a Republican
Yeah, let
administration
me ask
of the George
him
Bush.
if he agrees about your definition to call it 8-year success.
But I have to respond to his comment that there has been no success.
No. We're talking about his
success.
comment officially. There is no success during the past 8 years.
Well, there's success every place, but America has lost international respect from our allies. We've betrayed Israel.
Okay.
We are enhancing the jihad
All right.
of the Muslim.
Okay, very
group.
good. Very
Look,
good.
Jack,
Very good.
First
Now
of all-
your 2 minutes to comment
ahead.
on his saying
you.
that totally agrees with the word success.
Let's
the
look.
economy.
Let's look at the cross point between 8 years of Republican administration under the George Bush, which led us to the worst economic collapse since the Great Depression. You know, George W. Bush inherited from 8 years of Bill Clinton, the Democratic administration. You know, a balanced budget, a surplus. You know, 230 million jobs, and then in 8 years of a Bush Republican administration, lost the jobs, economy collapsed. Wall Street collapsed, and that's what our current President Barack Obama inherited, the worst economy since the Great Depression. We are now back. We are now economically strong. We are now creating jobs. How Mr. Hemmings can say that that is a failure when we have to remember where our current president started. And let's remember this. 9/11 happened on President George Bush's watch. And for 8 years, he led us into a misguided and possibly, you know, misguided war into Iraq when Osama bin Laden was hiding in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And after 8 years, Bush failed to catch him. And let's face it, Obama caught Osama. And that has really reinstated us as a superpower
All right.
and a leader.
Your
in this-
2
in the-
minutes up. Thank you for
the
that. And when we come back after this short break, it's going to be Ken's turn to respond to his comment about the 8 years. It's 8 years versus another 8 years, so that we know what we're talking about. How about that? Let's call it a break. All right? Can we? All right. We'll be right back, my dear audiences.